Tonight we're going to cover the USA Games applications and starting that process for 2026, the competition calendar for 2025, and then the new athlete registration process that was given to us by SONA this last week or so. So we can get started. I don't know if Nate, you want to start with USA Games or if Dave wants to start with competition.
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. I'll go ahead and get us started today.
I can't hear you, Nate. And it might just be me. So, okay. Good to know. Continue.
Okay, Dave, you can hear me? Okay, good. All right. So hopefully everyone can hear me. Yeah, as Taylor mentioned, topics for tonight include USA Games applications for 2026. We're going to talk about some new registration information for athletes. I'm going to cover those two topics. Dave's going to cover our competition calendar for 2025, and he's got some things to talk about with upcoming events this fall. So just to be aware what to expect the rest of the year with these calls. Next month, the month of October, we will not have a live meeting. Taylor will send out a recording that will include information related to your team budgets and will include some updates to our coaches' education protocol. In November, we will have a live call. It will be focused on our powerlifting competition in December, as well as early 2025 regional competitions. We will not have a call in December. We'll take the month off just with the holidays and everything. And then in January, we'll get back into it, talking about topics like the polar plunge and just kind of sports and what to expect for 2025. So if you ever have questions, just let Taylor, myself, or Dave know. But we really appreciate you guys taking the time to either be here with us tonight or take the time to watch the recording as we send it out. These calls are very valuable to us to be able to provide information, and it's nice for us to be able to kind of converse with all of you on a monthly basis. So I'm going to start by just sharing my screen and show you where you can find the USA Games applications on our website if you're interested. Okay, so the USA Games, the next USA Games are in 2026, June of 2026 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I am the Team Nebraska head of delegation along with Dave Demi. He is our co-HOD. I'm getting some feedback there. Is that me or do we need to mute someone? Okay. So the application period is now available. If you go to our website, sone.org, and you go up to sports, go to games and competition, and then go on down to USA Games. And then this is the page that will open up. So on this page, you're going to find an application for both coaches and athletes and unified partners. And so these applications can be filled out and sent to Dave and myself between now and the end of January 2025. So there's plenty of time for people to consider applying. The sports that we are offering for Team Nebraska in 2026 include track and field, bocce, which is unified, bowling, powerlifting, tennis, flag football, and soccer, which is unified. So with athletics or track and field, we have 4 spots, 2 male and 2 female athletes. Bocce, which is unified, we have 4 spots. We're looking for 1 male unified partner, 1 male athlete, 1 female unified partner, and 1 female athlete. Bowling, 2 males, 2 female athletes. Powerlifting, same, 2 males, 2 females. Athletes, tennis is 1 male, 1 female, so we have 2 spots in total for tennis. Flag football will be looking for a roster of 10 athletes. This is a traditional team. It's open to both males and females. And then soccer is unified. We'll be playing 7-on-7. Open again to both males and females. We'll have a roster size of 12. So as far as coaches go, we'll be looking for 1 athletics coach, 1 bocce coach, 1 bowling coach, 1 powerlifting coach, 1 tennis coach, and then 3 flag football coaches, 1 head coach and 2 assistants, and 3 soccer coaches, 1 head coach and 2 assistants. So if you have any questions about any of that information, all you have to do is just give me a call or give Dave a call. I'll be happy to help. these are the applications. And so the applications include information, obviously, about previous participation in Special Olympics. There are a lot of questions about an athlete's independence level. This type of a competition, it is important that athletes are able to be away from home for an extended period of time, and are able to, go throughout their day and complete their daily living tasks with minimal support. These type of events are extremely fun. They're extremely rewarding, but it's also a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. We do ask that our athletes train up to a year in advance to prepare. Fitness is a big priority as we get ready for events like this. We will be selecting our coaches in February of 2025, and then our athletes and partners in March of 2025, and then we would announce Team Nebraska sometime in April as soon as we're given the go-ahead from Special Olympics North America. And then myself and Dave would attend a conference in Minneapolis during the summer of 2025, and then we would come back here to try to educate all of our team members and families and coaches about what to expect for those games, probably sometime around July or August of 2025, and then the training would begin. So for coaches, not only would you be coaching your specific athletes in your specific sport, but you're also the chaperone for your athletes. So it is a time-consuming and extensive process. And so if anybody is interested, all you have to do is let us know. But the applications are open to anyone who is competing in these sports during this current calendar year, 2024. So just go ahead and let us know if you're interested. Send that information in and ask any questions that you might have. Dave, would you add anything to the USA Games?
A question came in the chat about, do they have to finish first, second, or third? So we do give priority to that. That is not necessarily 100% that if you finish first that you would be going. We do occasionally have sometimes where sports where people no one applies, or the only person that applies didn't finish first, second, or third, something like that. So there are occasions where that does happen, but we do try to give priority to that as well as everything else that Nate talked about, being independent, being able to be away from your family or job for 10 days at a time, something like that. So there are a lot of factors. That's just one of them.
Yes. Good question. When it comes to family involvement, we do encourage families to attend the games and come and watch and cheer on the team. We do allow our athletes to spend time with family away from competition if time allows. Really just depends on the sport and the schedule. There are programs that basically say, no, sorry, the athletes can't go away with their family, need to be with the team the entire time. We try to take the approach that if all the competition needs are met, and we kind of know, where they're going and when they're coming back, and there's a good communication system, we try to allow that. So we try to make sure the families feel a part of the team as much as possible. We've had really good attendance the last couple of cycles, where Dave and I have been HODs as well in 2022 and 2018. But it is the type of event that does require an individual to really be committed to their sport and to the team as a whole. So like I said, if you have any other questions, just reach out to us at any time. Okay. And we'll have a time for questions too at the end of the call today if there's anything else. All right, so moving on to athlete registration. So we do have a pretty significant change when it comes to athlete registration. So as of now, to compete at the local level, your state, your region, it is no longer required for an athlete to have a medical exam to compete and participate. We certainly will accept medicals if they're turned in. It is required if you were to go to a higher competition like a World Games, like a USA Games, if you were to go to a SONA competition like the bowling NIT or softball NIT, events like that, then medical examinations would be required of our athletes. And so if an athlete or a coach or a guardian turns a medical into us, we will take that medical and we will attach it to their file in our games management system, just as we always have, but it's no longer required to compete. And so as of now, we have a different form. If you were to go to our website and go to the top where it says get involved and then click on become an athlete, this is where you can find the athlete paperwork. So you come down here, click on this red box right here, and this is what pops up. It's a 4-page document. It's fillable. It's an athlete registration form. And so this is what is now required for all athletes. And so anybody new joining our program from basically this day forward would complete this document. Anybody that is renewing paperwork, this is what they would complete. And we need to have everybody renewed by January 1st, 2026. And so people can do this at any point between now and then. It's really up to them. Certainly, if they want to get all of your athletes this form next week and everybody fill it out, that's fine. We just go ahead and send that information into Jessica at our office. If you'd like to wait until the individual's medical is expired and the paperwork needs to be renewed, that's fine too. It would just have to be done again by January 1st, 2026. And so this document just asks a lot of similar information, but it does not involve a physical. We do ask some general health information here. It's best that a guardian, if an athlete is not their own guardian, it's best that a guardian complete, obviously. And so it's very simple, very straightforward. It only needs to be completed one time. After this is turned in, what would happen is every year, every athlete would complete a renewal form, which is a one-pager. Okay, so we do not have that up yet because that won't go into effect until a year after this form is filled out for everyone. So going forward, please know that if you turn in old paperwork, we will say, sorry, we need this paperwork to go ahead and participate. And this paperwork would need to be completed in order to not only compete at events, but to practice, which has always been the expectation. So we need to make sure that we're communicating this information to our athletes and their families, that we're removing old forms from any files that you may have. But this is now what's required. And this has been a topic of discussion within all of Special Olympics for a very long time. This decision was made at the regional level, meaning Special Olympics North America for us, and is now in place worldwide. So, and I think the reason is because a lot of feedback had been given over the years that a medical examination was a barrier to participate for a number of people. And so that's why we are where we are right now. Dave, Taylor, anything you would add to this?
I just want to reiterate that if any of your athletes are selected for USA Games, that they will require a form with a doctor's signature, just because that is a higher competition that's not just in the state of Nebraska. So you might fill this out and have an athlete then, qualify for USA Games. They would have to still go through the process of getting an athlete medical. But that form that Nate had up, the 4-pager, that is basically all the forms that we were having our athletes sign, one at a time. So you don't have to chase them down for maybe they missed one signature here or there. It's all in that one 4-page document. So that all takes care of all their paperwork that they would require. And kind of the thought process was, in a very short of it, if they showed up 15 minutes before your practice and filled that out and handed it to you and you just emailed it off to us, they are ready to go for that practice right there. They don't have to wait for a doctor or anything. They have their code of conduct and their consent, their medical, all that stuff is ready to go. So it's supposed to make your lives easier in the long run. And they are looking at doing a very similar thing with Unified Partners. They just haven't got that rolled out yet, but that's the next phase they're looking at doing. So they wanted to start with athletes first.
Yes, and typically when it comes to a USA Games or a World Games, those medicals have to be within a year of the actual event itself. And so what we'll likely do next summer, once Team Nebraska is selected, then we would provide a copy of a medical to all of our participants so they can get that completed in the window of time that we ask it to be done. So if you were to find out that you were selected to compete in April of 2025 and then bring us a medical, more than likely it won't be good for June 2026 because it won't be within that year. So when those events are approaching, we'll provide that information. Just keep in mind that if you're taking a team to a bowling NIT or an event that is similar to that, then you will need to get medicals for those participants and get that in. But yeah, that's something that I think will be a benefit in the long run to our athletes and their families. We still, of course, encourage our athletes to get physicals. We will still have MedFests from time to time. And like I said, if you do want to turn in a medical along with it, we will take that. and we will, you know, put that in their file.
And did we mention that by January 1st, 2026, we want everybody in our system to have this? So then if you're inactive right now, yeah, probably like you said, just have them fill out these forms. So if you have inactive athletes on your team, this is the form, and then they'll be active. They don't have to go in and get another medical, and if that medical hasn't expired yet, it'll be good until 2026. But just send Jessica as much of this as you can, and we'll try and get everybody updated as quickly as we can, because we know this will be a big rollout in the next year.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Taylor. All right, I do see a couple questions in the chat. It says, what happened to swimming and what events for athletics? Sorry, I missed that part, Jen. So swimming is not a sport that we are taking to the USA Games in 2026. Every program submits a quota request. And so Specialist North America receives requests from programs all over the region, or all over the country, I should say, for USA Games. And so, you know, what we try to do is we look back at all the events that we've gone to over the years and try to even out the sports as best we can. We're not in a position to be able to take every sport. It's not something, one, that Specialist North America is able to allow every state to do. And two, you know, our size of our delegation is what we feel is the right fit for us based on our size and our budget. So swimming, unfortunately, is not a sport that is being offered for Team Nebraska in 2026. So we'll look again at swimming hopefully in 2030. As far as what events for athletics, that is not determined yet. At this point, it's only determined that we have 2 male and 2 female athlete spots. So events would come at a later time. Okay. All right, Dave, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Talk about the competition calendar, and then we'll see if there are other questions as we get towards the end of the call today.
Taylor, can you pull up the competition calendar on there? You're muted right now.
I do have you as a co-host too, Dave, if you wanted to pull it up.
Are we doing the rest of 2024 or?
Nope, I just want the 2025 one up.
We'll have to get in.
Yeah, while Taylor's pulling that up, I do see another question. I'll go ahead and just answer real quick. It says, is the application for that online? I'm assuming you're talking about the USA Games application. Yes. I showed that a little bit earlier in the call. If you go to the sony.org website, Specialist Nebraska's website, go under sports and games and competitions, click on USA Games page, and you will see the applications right there. They're fillable online. The applications just go to both Dave and myself, and applications are going to be received all the way up until the end of January 2025. We will select our coaches in February of 2025 and our athletes and unified partners in March of 2025. The selection process is overseen by our program committee, which includes a mixture of Specialist Nebraska staff and board members.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, sorry, I was digging around for mine also. Yep, I can see that. That works. Okay, so this would be the competition calendar for 2025. And anything in yellow, we'll pay attention to the left-hand column. Those are the dates of the events. So anything in yellow has not been solidified yet. Anything on the left with an actual date in it, whether that's yellow or not, is the date of those events. So you can see we pretty much have most of our regional events done in the beginning of the year. We're just waiting on some confirmation for East basketball and West basketball. But you can see that the East Central and West Central basketball will be combined again in Grand Island. This competition calendar is up on our website, so you can visit it anytime. It'll be updated as soon as I get information from our regional coordinators. I put the newest version up that day. So a couple other things we're waiting on is just some athletics in the early part of the year as well. But as far as spring games, summer games, fall games, things like that, those are all set. And you can see where we're going to have those events held in the under the venue column. The only things that are not set really are the end of the year things, and that's just generally because it's very difficult to book a facility a year out. They used to give us that option a long time ago, kind of before COVID, and since then it's more of a, I would say, 6 month, sometimes 3 month process. So I know it gets frustrating for coaches that are trying to plan things, or parents, athletes, unified partners have vacations or work they need to get off for. And I'm very sensitive to that. I understand that's a major concern. And so we do our best to try and find those facilities and work it out with them as soon as possible. A lot of the places, even though they can't book it, they will sometimes just pencil us in as like we know you guys are coming back at this same time. And that's kind of nice working with some of those similar venues. As far as some of the venues that we're, talking about, we take all feedback from coaches. That's why we like to send out those surveys after games. And we, sometimes have to change venues, or we try to change venues if we can to upgrade just to upgrade the experience for the athletes. And I know generally fall games is tough with that bocce and how hot it is. And we are constantly looking at places for that, which is why we had to move from Lincoln to Omaha. We're still looking for a good home for that event, but we think about things like that. When new places do open up, Nate and I go tour them and take a look and see, if that's a good fit for us, if it's large enough for us, if it can house the amount of, spectators that we want and things like that. So that's why sometimes the competition calendar changes or where we're at, because we're looking to constantly see if we can find a better place. But it's also nice to work with the same venue over and over again, because they do know what you need when you need it by, and they're kind of been good to us. But as I said, this one has been updated as of 9/11 of this year. So very recently it's been updated, and if any other changes come about, we will continue to put those dates in and those venues of where the event is going to take place. As far as the rest of this year, we just have those last few. It's going to be Top Golf the 28th of this month, and then the 5th of October is Unified Bowling, and then the 12th and 13th is flag football and soccer, and then we will have powerlifting there in December, the week of the 14th, 15th. So the Unified Bowling heat sheets are up. So I encourage all of you to look at them, make sure we're not missing anybody. At this time, basically, I'm taking scratches from coaches and things like that. So your athlete's lane might change by the time of the event, but their start time should not, their venue should not, anything like that. There shouldn't be major changes like that. What I will do is the week of the competition, I will then post a complete new one with all those changes on there, so you can kind of finalize where or what lane your athlete's going to be on. But for the most part, they'll still be at the same venue, same start time. 95% of them be on the same lane. But if I get a couple open lanes and I can move some people over to speed up that day, that's what I try and do. So we're not just all piled into one lane when we have 3 or 4 open lanes. So that's why someone might change a lane there towards the start of the competition. As far as if you're waiting for soccer and flag football, I have been working on that. I anticipate having those schedules up in just a few days for those. So the other one, if you have any Top Golf athletes, those should already be up on the website as well. I know there's very few of you that have Top Golf teams, but those will be up, or those are already up right now. So again, please check the Unified Bowling. And then when I set up the schedules for the soccer and the flag football, please look at those too. In case there are any mistakes that I've made or we missed anybody, I want to get them in as soon as possible. And then recheck again the week of the competition. Oh, one more thing, we are doing a cornhole demonstration at flag football. If I've reached out to a bunch of teams, if you want to have a team or two just participate in that, just to kind of see what it's about. My goal is to schedule your athletes in between their football games so they can at least play. The play should take 20-25 minutes, maybe at most. Just so they can get a hang of it. Coaches can kind of see, we can kind of brainstorm, ask some questions. But we'll have three sets of boards going inside the field house where the batting cages are at Papillion Landing. So they'll be inside. We'll have people running it. And it also gives us an opportunity to kind of test it out and see what needs we're going to have as far as volunteers, what problems we run into, things like that. So it'd be very helpful if you guys have players, athletes, Unified partners that want to participate. Shoot me an email and I'll put you on my list and I'll let you know what time their scheduled game is going to be. I think that's all I have for that, Nate.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, and as Dave mentioned, those dates for 2025 will continue to be filled in as events are secured. We do want to make sure that people have a good understanding that when it comes to bocce, we are doing our homework. We've listened to a lot of the survey feedback from these previous fall games, and I can tell you that we are evaluating venues right now. We did some research and we looked back at the weather in that particular competition over the last 10 years. And, we talked with our tennis venue, we talked with our golf venue, and looking at potential changes. And we can tell you that moving a few of those sports to a different time later in the fall would be extremely difficult. And for several reasons. One, venue availability. Two, then you have teams that are practicing even more sports in the fall months because we would not be moving Unified Bowling, flag football, soccer, things like that. It'd be very difficult for us to get a golf venue at a later date or the tennis venue that we use. Those venues are completely booked up all the time. You're running into fall softball at the youth level, high school softball when it comes to softball, high school tennis, youth competitions, and getting a golf course on a weekend is extremely difficult. We've evaluated golf courses for many years when it comes to weekend competition, and we have one that it works, and we want to continue with them. Most of the golf courses and venues that we've evaluated over the years, when we talked about potentially holding an event, would tell us that we could have it on a Monday. So, over the last 10 years, we only had one other bocce date that was as hot as it was this year. And that was in 2015. If we had bocce the week before we had it this year or the week after, we would have been the mid to upper 70s. One suggestion was move it back a month. If we would have moved it back to late August this year, we would have been so hot that we had to cancel because there was a Sunday, Monday where it was well over the 105 heat index in late August. So we know that it gets hot. We know that it's difficult. And we know that some people will choose not to participate as a result of that, and we completely respect that. We are looking constantly at potential indoor options for bocce. The goal for fall games is for it to be held 100% in Lincoln. And so if there are any changes that come up, we'll be sure to communicate that as soon as we know. So, okay. Any questions right now on any of the topics that we've covered so far this evening?
Sandra asked, are the medicals still good for 3 years?
I'll go ahead and answer that, Taylor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we want to be clear, medicals are no longer required. To compete for Special Olympics Nebraska at the state or regional level, you are not required to turn in a medical. If you turn one in, that's fine. We'll accept it. We'll put it in the athlete's file. But know that for the events that a medical is required, the time period that the medical is good for, so to speak, or when it needs to be completed will be dictated by those games. And I can tell you that what we've seen over the last few cycles with World Games and USA Games in particular is they want their medicals to be done within a year of the competition itself. And so, and in most cases, you have to have those turned in by a certain date too. So you're really looking at maybe a 3-month or 4-month window that those physicals can be completed. So I wouldn't even worry about the 3-year thing any longer. When we have an event that an individual is interested in competing at that would require medical, we will give you those guidelines at that time. Does anybody have any other questions?
Okay, ask.
If we sign up somebody new now, we don't have to have the physical effective now, right?
That is correct. Yep, the 4-page document that I shared, which is what you'll find on our website where it says become an athlete, that's what needs to be completed. And I should mention too that this expectation not only is for our community participation, but also for our school-based events. We're requiring the same exact documentation for both our Unified Champion school events as well as our community events.
If the physical runs out like this year, if we have them fill out the new form after the physical expires, we're okay then, right?
What I would do is when it's approaching the physical expiration date, have them fill it out and turn it in. Yes.
The new one, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I would
keep in
say-
mind. Go ahead,
Go
Taylor.
ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, I would say if they're inactive now, send in the new form. If they have a medical that's still good for 3 years, we'll honor that until January 1st of 2026. So they have a year, but as of January 2026, they're gonna be inactive unless they have this new athlete form on file.
And we can go ahead and send that in anytime for, even
Yep.
though the physical is good, we can still.
Yeah,
send
even if
it
they have a
in.
good physical, yep, if you just want to knock out your entire team at once, if you're gonna have them somewhere and have people to fill it out, that's totally fine. You don't have to let people expire to send in the new stuff, but if they are inactive right now, I would just send in the new forms. We won't be accepting the old ones.
Yes. And keep in mind that once that new form is submitted, then every year at that exact time, they would need to be renewed.
But this will hopefully also simplify the missing paperwork report that we send out, because it'll just have their name and one line. It'll be either active or inactive, and you know exactly what they're missing because it'll just be that renewal form. It won't be they're missing this one form, but they're good on this one and they need to do this. It'll just be the one form that's making them inactive. So it'll be a little easier to navigate the missing paperwork reports when those come around.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, it looks like hopefully all your questions have been answered. If there's anything that you need, feel free to reach out to Dave, Taylor, myself at any point. As mentioned earlier, next month's call will not be a live call. We will send out a recording so you have information related to team budgets as well as coaches' education. And then November, we'll talk about powerlifting and regional competitions. So I don't have anything else, Taylor, Dave. You guys are good. I think we can let these guys get back to their evening.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We appreciate it.